One of the things that I have been really looking at and really been focused on trying to implement into my bag is I want to fix the gapping in the upper end of my bag, as well as make it easier for me to be able to attack greens at a longer distance, especially since most courses you're generally going to have some short par fours, maybe a couple of short par fives, but you're going to have that 250 to 200 yard area that you're going to want to attack it at. So I've been trying to figure out gapping in the upper end of my bag, especially since the new irons have eliminated my hybrid for a good couple reasons I'm going to talk about in this video. So realistically, this whole point of this video is asking, with today's technology, should you be looking at a fairway wood, a hybrid, or a driving iron, utility iron, whatever you want to call them? I'm going to explain a little bit of that and explain as to why I chose the utility iron out of all of them. All right, so long story short, there is such an advancement in technology in the past, I don't know, give or take 10 years, with hollow body clubs becoming a major thing, with creating higher MOI, moment of inertia for those that don't know, as well as hotter face, faster ball speeds, and being able to go and get the ball up in there easier again back to the MOI, which allows people to go and generate all that different type of distance, pop, flight, spin, everything else that you want out of it. I'm not even going to show a fairway wood in this one because I spent so much time working on my iron game that I neglected part of my wood game. I can hit them pretty good off the tee. I'm not the greatest with them off the deck. I can hit my 3-wood 250. I have a high launch 3-wood that I hit 240, and then I have another set of fairway woods that I do hit that 3-wood at about 240, 245, depends on the rollout to it, and the 5-wood I hit about 235. So that's where I started really looking at the different aspects of my game, right? So first off, let's talk hybrids. This is a Wilson Staff Fibered hybrid. It is, wow, that's a mouthful to roll off on, but anyways, this is a little bit of an old club. This was Wilson Staff's line of trying to kind of create a fairway hybrid style, which is called the Fibereds. This is more or less what your traditional hybrid is going to be. It's got a bubble head to it that most people are going to recognize. It's got a little bit of thickness on the sole. It's got guide rails. In theory, you're supposed to help it glide through the grass and everything. I never really noticed a difference on that. But the point of what a hybrid mainly shows, as well as a fairway woods, is it's got a slightly rounded face to it, which is going to cause a gearing effect. And those that don't know what gearing effect are, if you hit square to the target that you're hitting towards the toe, it's going to create a gearing effect, which creates side spin to curve the ball back into the target line that you're aiming at. Same thing with the heel. If it goes off slightly, it's going to fade back into it a little bit. These are supposed to go and help you get higher flight, a little bit faster ball speeds, similar performance to a fairway wood, not quite the height. That's where the hybrid difference comes into the play with that. Then you go into a utility iron or driving iron, whichever you want to call it. I'm a little bit old school with this stuff, and I recognize them as driving irons. So if I call it that, I'm going to use the names interchangeably with whatever comes to my head. But these play as a traditional iron in the sense of it does not have a curved face. It is a flat face. It's not as forgiving in that sense. So if you are a better ball striker, a little bit more consistent in contact on the face, that you don't need that extra gearing effect, this is an option for you to go and look at. Now, the major thing that you need to ask yourself when you're looking at the 3 different options, what do you feel confident hitting? Every time I set up with a fairway wood, I don't feel confident because the length of the club and everything else, I feel really awkward. I've never felt comfortable, even when I'm playing my best and hitting the best, nailing 250 balls down the fairway with a 3-wood. I still don't feel confident because it just looks awkward to me. When you go into the other aspect of that, the looks is another big part of what could be a deciding factor on why you're choosing this. Again, I have more confidence playing an iron than I do a wood. So looking down at this is going to give me a lot more confidence than looking down at just a big, bubble, what's supposed to more or less replicate an iron. In that sense, when I'm talking about some of this, I do want to point out that this is a 20 degree and this one is a 21 degree. That does and doesn't make a lot of difference. The importance as to why I'm pointing that out, I know kind of a little bit of a sidetrack on that. You need to go in and hit these. You need to try them. When I bought this is back when they said, it even says it on the back end of the club, that is a 3-iron replacement. They're not one-to-one replacements, especially now. I hit this utility iron actually further and better than I do this hybrid. But at the same time, when I was hitting the Srixon hybrids, I was hitting the 3 hybrid further than this. I'll get to that in a little bit too. Just pointing that out. You have to try these clubs out and get a reading on it to see which one's actually going to benefit what you were trying to do. Now, if you're a very handsy-feely person when it comes to a lot of it, and you really are in tune with your game, you might actually get a little bit better feel from the hybrids, and it kind of depends on the utility iron. You might lose some feel with them. As far as my hybrid goes, I actually have a pretty good solid feel to it. It almost feels like hitting a game improvement cast iron. It's got a pretty good solid thud. It's got a good feel to it, to where I could tell you where I'm making contact on the face, which is important just purely for my own personal feedback, letting me know where I'm hitting it in consistency or inconsistency. That's where I have an issue with the ZX. I love this club. It's great. I fully appreciate this addition in the bag. I think it's a combination of the fact that it's a hollow body, whatever technology that they crammed in this club, as well as a fiberglass shaft. I don't have a feel for this club. I can't tell you exactly where I'm hitting it on the face, but at the same time, that's not why I bought this club. I didn't buy it just so I could actually have a good solid iron replication. This is literally, I don't like hybrids, but I wanted something that's going to fill that gap. That's why I got this. This club, I have the confidence that I'm going to hit it relatively good, somewhere in the center towards the toe, in the grooves. That's my consistent ball strike. I don't have to worry about where I'm hitting it. Just know that something like this, you might actually lose a good amount of feel out of it. Now, when you're looking at these at setup, this is going back into your overall look, the feel, and everything that you want out of it. The looks of the driving irons are pretty much one-to-one on actual irons. Srixon went a little bit further on it, and it actually took me a little bit screwing around with the club and playing with it that I was able to figure out, like, this is a cool feature that they put into addition. They polished this bottom back edge to it. My 4-iron in my ZX5 set, I could see the whole end of the club behind the club face at setup. I could tell that that is a very meaty, thick sole. That's more or less what it is. This, they polished the bottom back edge to where whatever surface you put it on, it pretty much eliminates the back end. Because it's mirrored, you put it in grass, you see grass. So all you're seeing is this thick top edge to it in the face, which gives you that nice confident feel of you're looking at an iron. You're not looking at some amalgamation of a club that's just huge. Very pleasant to look at, in my opinion, because again, I like players type clubs. I like smaller clubs. The smaller the face, I have more confidence in it because, aim small, miss small. This allows me to actually have that same feel and idea behind the whole entire setup. I could aim better with that club than I can this, especially since I colored this one in red. It came stock with white. There's a tiny chevron that's on here, and no matter how I set up any of the fibers that I have, the club either looks really wide open or it looks like I'm basically hooding the shot at setup, and I've never felt comfortable with the way that those looked at setup. In reality, you set both of them up more or less as if you're hitting an iron anyway, so it's the same type of swing. If you get a little bit more of a sweeping swing that works out better for you playing woods, that's where the hybrid is going to work out better for you. This is where the swing types and your swing characteristics are going to come into play, which can help dictate what do you need in aspects of, do you need a fairway wood, a driving iron, or do you need a hybrid? Is if you sweep it, you're probably going to benefit a lot more out of a wood. If you kind of hit down a little bit and just gently like bruise the grass in front of it, a hybrid can work out great. If you like to play it like an iron, utility iron is where that's at, but you also have that option that you could do a hybrid instead. I'm gonna touch on a couple different things really quick, talking about the differences of what really benefits each of these, because a lot of people look at these different clubs thinking distance. You want the most amount of distance, you want certain flight and everything. And this is realistically, it's what do you want your club to do? In all actuality, this 3-iron is not a good gapping tool for my set. If I was trying to go and use that utility iron as a gap from my 4-iron into the next club up, it's not actually a good representation of it. I can hit a 5 wood pretty decently, but I'm not very consistent with it. So what I wanted to do was to go and create more or less an equal swap out with doing the 3-iron to replace the 5 wood, as well as have a 3-iron replacement. So my 4-iron, I hit about 205, 210 in distance. Sometimes I could hit about 215 with some rollout, which could be a pretty good accuracy of how I could actually throw that part of the game. My 5 wood, I was hitting about 230, 235, but again, not very reliably. This is where I was getting a little bit frustrated. I don't know if it's the shaft or if it's the club itself. It could just be older technology and I'm not getting as much out of it that I can. The most that I was able to push this out was about 225, 230, and I wasn't very consistent with it. I'm gonna put some footage up so you can actually see what I'm talking about with the differences of me hitting a hybrid versus hitting a driving iron, and that's where the big difference of it actually fell into. So I figured, okay, I'm gonna eliminate my 5 wood altogether. I'm gonna try out a couple different things. I'm gonna try a couple hybrids. I'm gonna try out the utility iron and go from there. So with my distances, I'm explaining this so you could also think about this on your own half of what direction you wanna go. My 3 wood, I hit 250 yards. I have a high launch 3 wood that is a 17 degree. I hit that 240 yards. I hit the Strixon hybrid. Now the 2 hybrid was 250 yards. That's too far, but it's also really awkward for me to hit and was very inconsistent for me to actually hit it. But when I did hit it, in that 30% of solid well-struck shots, they were hitting 250. No, I'm not trying to replace my 3 wood with a 2 hybrid, which kind of nice to know I have that option. The 3 hybrid, again, same, Strixon ZX hybrid. For the 3 hybrid, I was hitting it at about 240. Okay, that's creeping in my 3 wood territory. Again, it's awkward, it's harder for me to hit because I don't feel comfortable and confident with it. It kind of is a little bit overshooting what I wanted to do. Enter in utility iron. That's where I found the club that I actually was trying to aim at. I wanted to have something that was going to be in that 5 wood area that I could play with in a bunch of different aspects, but still easier for me to hit, more confident for me to hit, and it's more or less replicating 3 different clubs that I want to entirely eliminate. This I hit about 235 when I'm striking it good. Again, I'm going to put up some footage of me having a couple bad strikes, kind of a fat shots, but it's still, for a fat shot, it's still going pretty far out there, but you do notice a difference. Now, when it comes down to a couple different things with this, if you are comfortable using both or all three, you could probably be asking yourself, all right, well, you know, my thoughts say one thing, my bag says another thing. What does your wallet say? This utility iron runs about $220 to $240 depending on where you're at. The Srixon hybrids, as well as I believe the Cleveland hybrids, are actually on sale right now for about 175 bucks. So kind of keep that in consideration. The woods aren't on sale as far as I'm aware. We are coming to the end of the year, so that is something that you can put into consideration, that a lot of these clubs are going to be going away and you can have different options that are going to pop up. So go in, give them a shot, see which ones you want, and I would kind of advise either pull the trigger and get one before they're gone, or wait for the flood of the season to come through, as well as new clubs, and see how far they drop in price. Just know you're going to lose out on your combinations of shafts and heads and everything, and the adjustability that you can get to it. Now, the last thing I want to point out between the differences of all these clubs is, where are you playing? What climate are you in? What region are you in the States, Canada, you know, wherever you are, where are you playing at? Here in the Pacific Northwest, it's a forest. So we have pretty tight wooded areas. It does get a good amount of rain. The moisture is what I'm kind of poking at on this one. We do get some winds. We are a coastal area where we're at, so there's always a breeze that never goes away. You might want to look at maybe a hybrid or a utility iron because you want to keep the ball down a little bit compared to a fairway wood. Or you might just say, you know, screw it, you want to get that flight out of it to get that carry, to throw the ball as farther out as possible to get it over all that mushy ground to where it actually will make it out and give you the distance and everything that you need. Because sometimes carry is what's priority to it. So, final thoughts on the whole entire thing of who or what these clubs are actually meant for. You be the judge. I will note that not everybody could play a utility iron. And it's not that I'm hating on anybody. It's not that I'm down talking to anybody. There is a threshold that you will get where you're not going to be able to get the performance out of a driving iron. It's a combination of speed and impact that allows you to actually get the height, spin, and performance out of these. The grooves, the spin, all the other stuff on these clubs are all based on speed and velocity. The faster your swing is, the better that you could actually utilize something like this versus a hybrid. But if you don't have the swing speed, again, not talking down about anybody that swings slower. I've actually had my saying it to me on the course a number of times from people that are way slower at swinging than me and hit, you know, half the distances that I do. If you have a lot more comfort hitting a hybrid and your swing speed allows you to actually get maximum performance out of these, look at them. They're fantastic options to be able to go and throw in the bag. So, in all honesty, you have to try every single thing that you have in mind and see what fits your target that you're trying to achieve. Mine happened to be the utility iron. Well, hopefully you liked the video. Hopefully this was enough information to kind of give you a consideration of what direction to start looking. If it didn't, you know, leave a comment down below telling me why it didn't help, because that would actually help me be able to explain things later on, because I actually suck at talking. And if you actually had similar situations like this or whatever, you know, let me know in the comments down below. Please like and subscribe if you want to see more content like this. Keep it in the fairway. Have a good one.